Having certain people in our lives can sometimes cost a lot, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about our peace, our well-being, and even our future. You know those moments when you feel like something is wrong, but you can't quite figure out why. Today we are going to talk about it and discover the 13 signs that indicate that it is time to end relationships with certain people. This video could be the push you need to move on from relationships that aren't good for you and make room for what really matters, your happiness and growth. Maybe you've noticed that someone is holding you back, but you doubted it because you thought it was just a phase or that you were overreacting. This happens to a lot of people, and it's not your fault, but the truth is that staying close to people who hurt us can be one of the worst decisions, often without us even realizing it. And you know what's most interesting? The more we ignore these signs, the harder it is to make the right decision. That's why this video is not just another piece of content, but a guide to help you recognize, understand, and act on them. Watch it till the end, because every point we are going to talk about could change the way you see the people around you. And the last sign, I assure you, is something that most people are not aware of, but it could be the one that changes everything in your life and makes it easier and more purposeful. Number 1, constant disrespect. Disrespect is a strong word, but unfortunately it happens in some relationships. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries or doesn't care about your feelings multiple times, that's not normal and shouldn't be accepted. It's like a wound that, if left untreated, will only get worse and affect everything around it. Deep down you know that you deserve more, that you deserve to always be treated with respect, but you often believe that that's just how the person is. But that's not how it is. Constant disrespect is a clear sign that something is wrong. Imagine how difficult it is to live with someone who constantly ignores your feelings. You say something important, and the response is a joke, a mean comment, or even an awkward silence. Over time, you start to think, am I the problem? Am I overreacting? This type of relationship is stressful because it affects your self-confidence and self-image. And the truth is that someone who truly cares won't keep hurting you. Respect is the foundation of every good friendship or relationship. It shows up in small actions, in the way a person listens to you, responds to your ideas, and most importantly, respects your boundaries. If that's not the case, you're always afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. But I want to remind you of something important. A relationship in which you have to hold back to avoid arguments is not a relationship. It is a burden. And disrespect doesn't have to be obvious to hurt. Sometimes it shows up in small behaviors, such as, e.g., bad comments disguised as jokes. If someone makes fun of you in front of others, even after you have asked them to stop, it is not just a joke, but a way of ignoring your feelings. That's disrespect, and it's the worst kind. The kind you try to cover up with the excuse, "I didn't mean to hurt you." You may be thinking, but does the person know what they're doing? Maybe yes, maybe no. But the most important thing is that you don't have to teach anyone to respect others. If someone has had the chance to change and continues to have the same attitude, it's time to consider whether the friendship or relationship is worth maintaining. The respect you deserve starts with the respect you demand. If you allow disrespect to continue in your life, it will not stop on its own. On the contrary, it will only increase and make everything even more difficult. You deserve to be with people who value you, who do good to you, and who know that respect is the minimum that everyone should have in a relationship. This is not something that can be negotiated. It is your right. So look at this situation with clarity and courage. Ask yourself, what am I getting from this relationship? If the answer isn't good, maybe it's time to end the relationship. And remember, breaking up with someone who disrespects you is not a sign of weakness, but rather an act of self-love. They deserve much better than to be treated with contempt. Number 2, lack of reciprocity. Relationships should go both ways. If you notice that it is you who is always trying, helping, giving in, or sacrificing, while the other only receives, it is time to pay attention. Lack of reciprocity is like trying to row a boat alone. No matter how hard you try, you won't get anywhere, because the effort isn't shared. Think about your relationships. Who is there for you when you really need them? Who will support you without you having to ask? If you feel like you have to carry everything yourself, be it feelings, money, or obligations, then something is wrong. This is not a simple problem, but a clear sign of how the other person sees the relationship, and more importantly, how they see you. A lack of reciprocity doesn't have to be big to hurt. Sometimes this shows up in very small things, like the friend who only comes to you when they need something, but disappears when you need a conversation, or the coworker who asks you for help, but never helps you when you need it. These little behaviors, when repeated, show that the relationship is out of balance and you are always the one who suffers the most. In a healthy relationship, effort is shared. Even though it's not always exactly the same, sometimes you give more and sometimes you get more, but over time it evens out. The problem is when that balance never occurs and you feel drained by people who only know how to take. This is not friendship, not love, not partnership, but just exploitation. This may be difficult to recognize at first because those who only take know how to hide well. The imbalance can manifest itself in various forms, e.g. be in the form of compliments to assuage guilt or in the form of promises of retaliation that never materialize. But be aware, actions speak louder than words. Those who truly care about you show it through their actions, not just their words. Cutting contact with those who do not show appreciation may seem like a very drastic decision, but the impact on your energy and time is enormous. Think about how much you could invest in relationships that actually do you good, rather than trying to maintain relationships that just wear you down. This is the power that lies in choosing the right people by your side. So look at your life with courage and honesty. You deserve to be with people who reciprocate all the affection, effort, and dedication you give. Remember, reciprocity is not about interest, but about respect and balance. And when you demand this, you create space for relationships that are truly worth it. Number 3, gossip or betrayal. Trust is very important in any friendship or relationship. If it is destroyed by gossip or betrayal, it becomes difficult to maintain that bond. If someone close to you spills personal things, talks badly about you, or worse, breaks your trust altogether, it's a clear sign that this relationship may be doing more harm than good. A relationship without loyalty is a relationship without security. Gossip may seem simple, but it is very damaging to those affected by it. It is very painful to know that someone has told you something personal that you shared in confidence, or that they have changed their words to make you sound like someone else. You feel exposed and vulnerable. You start to wonder what else this person might say about you when they're not around. Betrayal goes even further than words. It can be emotional in nature, e.g., b. if someone hurts you to gain an advantage for themselves, or even a breach of trust in a very important matter. Any kind of betrayal leaves a wound that is difficult to heal, because not only is the relationship at stake, but also the security and respect that you thought you had in that friendship. The worst thing about dealing with gossip and betrayal is that it often comes from people you completely trusted. Someone you thought was on your side suddenly behaves in ways you never imagined. This not only hurts, but also causes you to lose trust in other people in the future. It's important to remember that no one has to face life's challenges alone. Healthy and meaningful relationships are built on a solid foundation of loyalty, mutual respect, and trust. If someone can't provide this, it's time to think about what you really gain by keeping that person in your life. Sometimes we are tempted to justify a person's mistakes and failures, believing that the situation will improve over time. However, this mindset often only prolongs suffering and prevents us from recognizing that we are sacrificing our own peace when we hold on to a toxic attachment. We must not forget that the value of our emotional health must come before any attachment that causes us to suffer. Breaking up with someone who spread gossip or cheated on you can be one of the hardest decisions you'll ever have to make, especially if that person played an important role in your life. But it's important to remember that you have the right to put your well-being first. To live an emotionally healthy life, it is important that you surround yourself with people who respect you, who care about your emotional balance, and who truly value you for who you are. Separating yourself from toxic or manipulative people is not an act of revenge, but rather a form of self-protection. By doing so, you give yourself the chance to build a life in which relationships are based on trust, transparency, and reciprocity. When you separate from those who have hurt you, you are sending a clear and strong message. I deserve to be treated with respect, and I will seek out the relationships that truly build me up. And even if that means starting over or finding new circles of support, it's a decision that will only strengthen your inner peace. By choosing your friendships and partnerships more consciously, you are choosing relationships that share the same values of loyalty, sincerity, and genuine support. And that is the kind of bond that deserves to take the place previously occupied by those who have harmed you. Number 4, manipulation and gaslighting. Manipulation is one of the most insidious forms of emotional control. Sometimes the person trying to manipulate you acts in such a subtle way that you don't even notice at first. This is the moment when you start to question yourself, feel guilt for which there is no explanation, or doubt your own memories and feelings. This is called gaslighting, an extremely toxic and destructive behavior. It spreads like a poison that attacks your self-esteem and confidence, making you believe that you are always wrong, even when you know you are not. The manipulator is usually not direct. He tests your limits little by little, with small but effective sentences like, "Are you sure that's how it was?" Or, "Aren't you exaggerating a little?" These words may seem harmless at first, but over time they pile up and make you doubt your own perception of reality. The person distorts everything around them and creates a narrative in which they are always the victim or the right person, while you end up being blamed, ungrateful, and out of control. This process is invisible but very powerful, and you begin to realize that you are being manipulated without knowing exactly how. The manipulator also has an impressive ability to reverse the roles. When you try to express how you feel, the conversation becomes about you, making you feel in the wrong. The focus of the discussion is never on his behavior. He twists words, shirks responsibility, and you end up leaving the conversation even more confused and emotionally drained than you started it. This is a power dynamic where no matter how hard you try to explain yourself, you are always at a disadvantage. This way of acting turns every conversation into a battle in which the manipulator always emerges victorious while you feel powerless and small. The cruelest thing about manipulation is the profound impact it has on your worldview. Little by little, you may begin to believe that you don't deserve to be treated with respect, or that you are creating problems where none exist. Self-doubt grows, and you begin to believe that the constant criticism is fair. This cycle can be overwhelming and difficult to break, but the good news is that the first step to taking back control of your life is recognizing the signs. When you recognize what is going on, you can begin to protect yourself. People who truly love you and care about your well-being will never try to confuse, unsettle, or belittle you. People who respect you want to see you strong, confident, and self-assured, not in a constant state of doubt. If you notice that someone is trying to manipulate your feelings or control your perspective, it is important to take a stand. Talk about how you feel, make it clear what's going on, but know that manipulators will rarely take responsibility for their actions. They will avoid the conversation and continue their toxic behavior. When this happens, it's a clear sign that it's best to cut off contact. Cutting off contact can be painful, especially since manipulators often create an emotional dependency that makes you believe you can't live without them. But remember that your well-being should always come first. It's not selfish to prioritize your mental and emotional health. If necessary, seek support from people you truly respect, or even a professional who can help you get out of this situation. You deserve to live without the shadow of manipulation hanging over you. When you break this bond, even if it is difficult at first, you regain something much more valuable than any manipulative relationship can offer you: trust in yourself and the right to be free. And if you like the content, consider becoming a member of the channel. Not only do you support the channel, but you also receive exclusive content. Click on the link in the description and become a member now. Back to content. Number 5, verbal or physical abuse. This is undoubtedly one of the clearest and least negotiable signs that you need to cut off contact with a person. Abuse, whether verbal or physical, should never be tolerated. No matter how important the person is to you or how much you have shared with them, no relationship, no matter how close or meaningful, can justify putting up with any kind of violence. And if you're going through this, let me first remind you of something very important. It's not your fault and you're not alone. Verbal abuse can be difficult to recognize at first glance because words leave no visible mark. But the emotional and psychological damage is deep and often more lasting than physical wounds. Words can hurt in unimaginable ways, especially when they come from someone who is supposed to support and love you. Insults, yelling, humiliation, and threats create an environment of fear and insecurity in which your self-esteem gradually erodes. This type of abuse destroys your self-confidence, makes you doubt yourself, and over time you begin to believe that you deserve to be treated this way. The cruelest thing is that the abuser often tries to convince you that the problem is yours, that you provoked the situation, or even that you deserve to be treated this way. This is manipulative behavior, a dirty trick to make you believe that he is not to blame for anything. And it gets even worse when he plays the victim and tries to take responsibility for his actions away from you. Physical violence is even easier to recognize because it is immediately visible and painful. But make no mistake, verbal, emotional, and psychological abuse can be just as devastating. Even if you know you are being abused, it can seem impossible to break the cycle of abuse. Fear, emotional dependency, and often financial dependency make this decision even more difficult. But never forget, no one has the right to hurt you, neither physically nor mentally. No matter what you did or said, nothing justifies aggression of any kind. A slap, a shove, or any form of violence is not a one-time mistake. These are behaviors that tend to repeat themselves, and what is more dangerous, they tend to escalate and become more and more severe. If you find yourself in a situation like this, you should definitely seek help. Talk to someone you trust, contact aid organizations, or even the authorities. The first step to getting out of an abusive relationship is realizing that you deserve a much better life than this, a life where you can feel safe, loved, and respected without fear of being hurt. Don't be afraid or ashamed to ask for help. That's not weakness, it's courage. Often the abuser will try to downplay their actions, apologize, and promise to change. But it's important to know a difficult truth. Real change rarely happens in abusive relationships. Even if the abuser vows that he will change, the promises are often empty and only serve to manipulate you and maintain control over you. In such cases, the safest and healthiest thing to do is to walk away and rebuild your life in an environment where you feel comfortable and your emotional well-being is respected. You deserve a life in which you feel safe and with the dignity that every human being is entitled to. It's not worth continuing in an endless cycle of excuses, empty promises, and aggression that only weakens you. It can be very difficult to make this decision, especially if the person in question plays an important role in your life. However, prioritizing your emotional and physical safety is not selfish, but a necessity. When you decide to cut off contact with an abuser, you are taking a big step toward your recovery. You choose to be reborn and give yourself the chance to live without fear, without guilt, and with dignity. You have the right to say no to abuse and yes to a life filled with respect, support, and true love. Never forget something fundamental. You deserve so much more. And truly, you are worthy of living a fulfilling life, far away from any form of abuse. Number 6. Constant negative energy. Have you ever met someone who seems to carry a gray cloud with them wherever they go? Someone whose behavior is always characterized by criticism, complaints, and a pessimism that never seems to end. This type of constant negative energy can cause more damage than we realize. Not only does it affect your mood, but over time it also saps your motivation and even the way you see the world around you. If this person is always by your side, this emotional burden can become more and more unbearable. You may even find that despite the fact that they are a person you like, Interactions with this person are making you increasingly tired or discouraged. A person's negative energy can create a heavy atmosphere, and often it is not due to major arguments. Sometimes it's just a sarcastic remark or a defeatist attitude. But even in small things, repeating that energy can be exhausting. At first it may go unnoticed, but soon you begin to feel the effects of this negativity in your life, even if you don't realize it. You start to doubt your own ideas, or, even worse, you lose the will to share the good things that happen to you because you are already expecting a negative reaction. It is important to realize that someone's constant negativity is not your responsibility. Often these people are struggling with their own internal struggles, but instead of looking for a solution to their problems, they project their frustration onto everything around them. Of course, we all have bad days and difficult moments. This is completely normal. But when this behavior becomes permanent, it stops being a one-time thing and becomes a toxic pattern. This type of energy affects much more than you realize, especially your psyche. If you live with such a person, avoid sharing your achievements, ideas, and projects with him, because you already know that the reaction will be negative or at least indifferent. This creates a cycle where you start doubting yourself, questioning your own beliefs, and even paralyzing your own plans before you even try. It's like carrying an invisible burden that prevents you from moving forward. Even worse, you may end up believing that this negativity is coming from you, or that you are responsible for changing the person's attitude. If you're feeling this way, it's time to prioritize your emotional health. This doesn't mean you should abandon everyone who is going through difficult times. Nobody says you should abandon someone who needs help. However, it is important to recognize when a person's behavior is constantly hurting you. It is important to set clear boundaries. You can support someone without taking on all the negative weight they carry. But to do this, you need to know how far you can go without endangering your own well-being. Breaking up with someone who constantly brings negativity may be a difficult decision, but it is often the only solution. If the person shows no interest in changing or does not even recognize the impact their behavior is having on others, it is important to separate to maintain one's peace. There is no point in continuing a relationship that will only drain you. Your energy and time are too valuable to waste on someone who does not contribute to your growth and happiness. The key to changing your life and creating a positive environment is to surround yourself with people who truly support you, who inspire you, and who can see the good in life, even in the face of difficulties. Positivity, like negativity, is contagious. Surrounding yourself with people who boost your energy will also make you feel lighter and more motivated. Surround yourself with people who inspire you to be the best version of yourself rather than those who limit you with their negative view of the world. By choosing an environment where you feel valued and supported, you create the space to thrive and achieve your goals. Ultimately, you deserve to live a life full of meaning, peace, and good cheer. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Number 7. Excessive control. At first glance, control may seem like a form of caring, but it is important to recognize that true caring never involves restrictions or oppressive demands. When someone tries to dictate what you do, who you talk to, or even how you think, that's not caring, it's control. Control in a relationship is never healthy because it robs you of your freedom and your identity and creates an invisible emotional prison that is difficult to escape from. Often those who are trying to control disguise their behavior with phrases like, "It's for your own good," or "I know what's best for you." But if you look deeper, you'll see that what they really care about is not taking care of you, but rather limiting your choices, your decisions, and most importantly, your autonomy. This can start with them monitoring your conversations, constantly questioning your decisions, and in some cases even setting unspoken rules about how you should behave. The result is an unbalanced relationship in which you are never truly free. You are always being watched, judged, and often emotionally punished when you fail or deviate from the expectations that have been placed on you. This type of control begins so subtly that we often don't even notice it. It can start with a simple question, e.g., "Who did you talk to?" which over time becomes demands like, "I don't want you to talk to this person anymore." Little by little, the controller isolates you from your support network, drives away the people who are good for you, and makes you doubt your ability to make decisions for yourself. This isn't caring, it's a power play disguised as protection. The emotional pain that comes from living under someone's constant control is immense. Over time, you lose confidence in yourself, question your own decisions, and even become afraid to be who you really are. Your inner voice, which should guide you, becomes more and more distant, while the voice of the other, which is becoming more and more authoritarian, gains the upper hand. What should be a cooperative relationship in which both people respect each other and grow together becomes a relationship of dominance, in which you find yourself in the position of the submissive, always at the mercy of the other's wishes and constraints. If you find yourself in such a situation, it is important to remember one very important thing. You are no one's property. You have the right to make your own decisions, be free, and live your life without fear of being monitored or suffocated. Control is not love, and those who truly care about you will never want to imprison you within your being. True love sets you free, supports you, and allows you to grow, even if that means taking different paths. Cutting ties with someone who is trying to control your life can be very challenging, because they rarely accept that they are losing their power over you. They may try to manipulate you, promise you changes, or even accuse you of letting them down. But remember, this is all part of the cycle of control that needs to be broken. True love and respect do not consist of empty words or passing promises, but rather actions that show genuine care. Breaking away from this type of relationship is not just liberating, it is a rescue of one's dignity and autonomy. By breaking away from those who try to control you, you reclaim your voice, your freedom, and the right to live fully without fear of being who you truly are. You deserve to be free and live your life the way you want, without restrictions and without fear. When you choose your freedom, you choose your happiness, and that is the best step you can take toward an easier, truer life. Number 8. Frequent destructive criticism. Sometimes everyone needs a touch of reality, but it's important to realize that not all criticism has the same impact. There is a big difference between constructive criticism that is meant to help you grow and improve and destructive criticism that only serves to bring you down. If someone in your life constantly points out your weaknesses, harshly, sarcastically, or without a clear intention, you realize that this person is not really helping you. Rather, it undermines your self-esteem. Destructive criticism is not intended to make you better, it only makes you doubt yourself and feel smaller. Think about how you feel when you receive such a comment. At first, you may even try to understand or justify the person's behavior, thinking it's just their way of being. But over time, these words pile up, and each negative comment begins to weigh more heavily than it should. It's like carrying around a backpack full of invisible stones. At first, you can bear the weight, but over time it becomes impossible to carry everything. Anyone who criticizes you in a destructive way has no concern for your well-being. Often he or she projects his or her own insecurities onto you or uses criticism as a form of control and tries to make you feel inferior in order to have more power in the relationship. Comments like, "You never do anything right," or "That's why no one likes you," aren't just hurtful words. They're emotional weapons designed to destroy your confidence and self-esteem. It is important to remember that the problem is not with you, but with the way this person wants to treat you. Healthy criticism, on the other hand, always comes with empathy and with the intention of supporting you. It may point out something that needs to be improved, but in a constructive way so that you feel motivated and not guilty or ashamed. Ask yourself, how do you feel after hearing this criticism? If you feel more hurt than encouraged, that's not help. It's emotional abuse disguised as sincerity. A common pitfall with this type of criticism is that the person mixes praise with criticism, creating a confusing scenario. For example, she might say, "You did a good job, but as always, you spoiled it in the end." This type of comment is not constructive feedback, but a way to manipulate your feelings and get you to please someone who is never truly happy with what you do. This behavior isn't fair and, more importantly, You don't deserve to live under this constant pressure. Deciding to break up with someone who criticizes you in a destructive way is not an easy decision. This person may be someone very close to you, such as B, a longtime friend, a partner, or even a family member. But it's important to remember that no relationship, no matter how close or important, is worth it if it constantly hurts you. You have every right to break up with someone who doesn't know how to respect your boundaries or value you. When you say no to destructive criticism, you are saying yes to a healthier environment in which you can grow and thrive as a person. This isn't selfishness, it's simply self-care. Surround yourself with people who truly support you, who challenge you in healthy ways, who believe in your potential, and who are excited about your achievements. These are the criticisms that really matter and will move you forward because they are delivered with love, respect, and the desire to see you achieve your best. But there is something important to understand. If you have been trying to get out of your comfort zone and learn more for a long time, but still haven't succeeded, there may be something you are not aware of. I know what it could be. Fear. Fears are like a snake that eats its way into you unnoticed. It makes you sick for days, months, and even years. Living like this is like being sick all the time. But I know a solution. The Stoic philosophers and modern psychology have found a way to get rid of them. I managed to heal myself from this fear. I made a video explaining how you can get rid of them, and it can be seen in the first comment. Click the link in the first comment and start healing yourself from that feeling of fear. Number 9. Envy and toxic competitiveness. Healthy relationships grow and thrive in an environment of mutual support and celebration. When you achieve something or share a joy, the people who truly love and respect you should rejoice with you, cheer your victories, and be proud of your achievements. But what if instead you receive indifference, a cold comment, or even an attempt to diminish your happiness? This is one of the most obvious forms of envy and toxic competition, and a clear sign that the relationship may not be as healthy as you think. A friend or family member who cannot be sincerely happy about your successes is actually reflecting their own insecurities. This behavior can be painful because when you need support and enthusiasm, you instead get a hit disguised as disinterest or even contempt. Instead of helping, this person leaves you even more alone and dilutes the joy that should be shared. Envy is not just about wanting what you have or wanting what you have achieved. It often expresses itself in cruel ways, by trying to sabotage your success or make you feel guilty about something that should make you proud and happy. Think of a friend who, instead of congratulating you on a new job, points out the flaws or limitations of your performance. Or a family member who never celebrates your victories but is always ready to criticize you. These behaviors say nothing about you, but rather about the other person's deep-seated insecurities. And yet they can profoundly affect your self-esteem and confidence. Toxic competitiveness goes even further. Instead of supporting and celebrating you, the person tries to turn everything into a competition in which their success is a threat. When you get promoted, the person tries to belittle your performance or even brag about something you did before, or when you have a new project, he starts comparing everything to something of his, as if your happiness is something he has to overcome. This type of relationship drains your energy and makes you feel like you have to constantly compete and prove your worth. The worst effect of envy and toxic competition is that they can make you doubt yourself. With every criticism disguised as advice, you begin to question whether you really deserve the success you have achieved. You start to think that maybe it's overkill to be so happy about your successes, and the other person's toxicity starts to cast shadows on the brightest moments of your life. But there is an important truth. You are not responsible for someone else's happiness. If someone can't handle someone else's success, the problem is theirs, not yours. Your success doesn't diminish anyone. On the contrary, it should be celebrated by those who truly care about you. Never allow someone else's envy to take away the shine from your own achievements. You have the right to be proud of your achievements, and no one should take that away from you. Realizing that someone close to you is jealous or acting like a competitor instead of a partner can be a painful experience. We want to believe that the people around us wish us well and are committed to our success. However, recognizing this behavior is important to protect your emotional health and ensure that you are surrounded by people who truly support you. There is no justification for allowing the poison of envy to destroy your peace of mind or diminish your self-confidence. If you realize you are in such a relationship, it is time to set clear boundaries. Don't share your successes with anyone who devalues them or tries to compete with you. In more serious situations, you may need to consider distancing yourself from this person until they overcome their own insecurities. This is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. Some people need to deal with their own problems before they are ready to enter into a real, healthy relationship. The decision to separate yourself from envious or competitive people is not arrogant, but rather a matter of self-preservation. You deserve to be surrounded by people who truly celebrate your victories and support you in your growth. Choose to surround yourself with people who see your successes not as a threat, but as an opportunity to celebrate together. Do not accept anything less because you deserve to walk your path with people who truly support you without envy or rivalry. This will help you become stronger, grow, and move forward in life with the confidence that you are on the right path. Number 10. Indifference to your well-being. Healthy relationships are based on mutual care, affection, and understanding. If someone who is by your side shows indifference towards your feelings, your problems, or even your well-being, it is a clear sign that they do not value your presence as much as they should. Care and attention in a relationship are not something that should be demanded, but rather something that flows naturally. If that's not the case, that's a warning sign that something is wrong. You notice that you feel lonely even though you are surrounded by people as if you were invisible to them. This kind of indifference can be more painful than any open conflict because it doesn't scream, it silences you. Indifference is a silent but extremely powerful form of emotional neglect. It makes you feel helpless, as if your feelings have no value, or as if you are not important enough to deserve attention. Think about the people closest to you. Do they know what's going on in your life? Do they ask you how you are doing? Do they show concern when they notice something is wrong? Or do they walk past you as if nothing has changed, as if you have no feelings or aren't struggling with your own problems? Indifference is a clear sign of disinterest, and that's how no relationship should be, where despite being next to someone, you feel completely alone and invisible. A healthy relationship is a mirror in which you feel reflected, heard, and above all valued. Indifference can take many forms, but they all have a profound impact. Sometimes it's just silence in the moments when you need to be heard most. Other times it's a lack of empathy or a lack of genuine response when communicating something important. Instead of being welcomed, you receive cold or disinterested responses, which only increases frustration. Every time you try to connect, you find yourself trying to do it alone. This behavior creates a painful emotional cycle. You feel increasingly isolated, even in a relationship that should theoretically be supportive. But the emotional distance grows because despite your best efforts, the other person doesn't seem to care about you or make any effort to understand what you're going through. The impact of this dynamic on your emotional life can be devastating. Over time, you begin to keep your feelings, worries, and thoughts to yourself. This happens because when you try to communicate something, you are repeatedly ignored or disrespected, and you begin to fear that your needs will be seen as neediness or exaggeration. The problem is that over time you lose the will to open up because you fear that you will be devalued again. This is one of the most insidious forms of loneliness, being in a relationship where you feel invisible even though you are physically present. But it's important to realize that the problem isn't yours. Showing interest, care, and empathy are not grand gestures that are difficult to make. It's the little details that make the difference. A word of comfort, a loving gesture, a simple, "How are you?" If these little things are missing, it's because the person is choosing not to make you a priority. And no one should have to fight so hard for attention and affection in a relationship. Maybe you've tried to justify this behavior by thinking, "Oh, this person is too busy," or "She doesn't know how to show her emotions." However, real caring does not require great skills or perfect gestures. What matters is the person's effort to make you feel important, respected, and loved. If you notice this constantly missing, it's time to realize that this person isn't choosing to make you a priority. Love and care should be natural and mutual, not a burden that you must carry alone. If you don't receive this, the relationship will become one-sided and draining. Breaking up with someone who doesn't care about your well-being can be one of the most difficult decisions, especially if you care deeply about the person. But sometimes insisting on maintaining this bond only prolongs the emotional wear and tear and increases the suffering. You deserve to be surrounded by people who genuinely care about you, who show you affection, and who make an effort to be by your side, not out of a sense of duty, but out of a genuine desire to care for you. Choosing to distance yourself from those who are indifferent is not an act of selfishness, but of self-love. Your emotional health is too precious to be neglected or ignored by those who should value you. Free yourself from this dynamic of indifference. Make room in your life for real relationships where the care is reciprocal and where you feel welcome, understood, and valued. These are the relationships that nourish your soul and help you grow, the relationships you deserve in your life. Number 11. Relationships based on interest. True relationships are built on solid pillars such as affection, trust, and a genuine desire to participate in each other's lives. If you notice that the person only comes to you when they need something, or if the bond only seems to exist when you offer something in return, this is a clear sign that the relationship may be based on interest. Instead of an exchange of mutual affection and respect, you are then treated as a resource to be used. This type of relationship is unhealthy because it turns the scales of friendship or love on its head. True connection should not depend on what you can offer, but on who you are. If that's not the case, it's time to think about the nature of that bond. This dynamic is not friendship, love, or partnership. It's an unequal and selfish exchange that leaves you exhausted, emotionally drained, and frustrated. Imagine the person who only shows up when you're in trouble, who always asks you for something or expects you to solve a problem, but completely disappears when you need support. Or you know someone who is only there when they can take advantage of something you have to offer, be it help, resources, or even status. This type of behavior not only damages trust, but also destroys the foundation of any healthy relationship. You get the feeling that your presence only has value if you offer something, and this makes you feel devalued and disrespected, as if your essence is invisible and only what you offer matters. Sometimes a relationship based on interest is not easy to recognize. Often the person disguises their true intentions with compliments, temporary closeness, or promises of real friendship. However, when you look deeper, it becomes clear that she isn't really invested in the relationship. Instead, she approaches you just to get something from you. And once she's satisfied your needs, she walks away without ever giving anything in return. This pattern of behavior is emotionally draining. Over time, it leaves you tired and frustrated because you're constantly trying to maintain the relationship while the other person just takes advantage of the situation. This undermines the trust and balance that should exist between the two parties, and you end up feeling like you're living in a one-sided relationship where only you invest but get nothing in return. The problem with maintaining this type of attachment is that it begins to distort your perception of value. You begin to believe that you have to constantly offer something, be it support, favor, or help, in order to be accepted or liked, as if your presence alone wasn't enough. This feeling is insidious and dangerous. It undermines your self-esteem and makes you feel like you are only valuable because of what you can do or offer. This type of relationship can lead you to feel like you always have to prove your worth, and that can lead you to get involved in other, equally unbalanced relationships. But the truth is simple. You deserve to be valued for who you are, as the unique and valuable person you already are. You don't have to be a constant provider to earn love, respect, or affection. Breaking up with such a relationship can be difficult, especially if the person in question is someone you have known for a long time, or someone who plays an important role in your life. The emotional attachment we form with these people can make it difficult to recognize that the relationship is not good for us. However, it is important to realize that a relationship that is not based on mutual respect and reciprocity will only harm you further. If you insist, you are sacrificing your energy, your time, and above all your emotional peace that could be better invested in real and enriching relationships. Breaking up with someone who is only after you out of interest doesn't mean that you are insensitive or selfish. Rather, it is an act of self-defense and self-love. You have the right to set clear boundaries in your relationships and to expect return from those around you that is genuine, caring, and truthful. This doesn't mean you have to be demanding, just that you demand what you deserve. Relationships that inspire you, that empower you, and that bring you joy. When you surround yourself with people who appreciate you for who you are, your life takes on a lightness and meaning that didn't exist before. Choose to surround yourself with people who want to see you grow, who celebrate your achievements, and who truly care about your well-being. Do not accept anything less. You deserve to be valued as a person, and not just as a tool for others to achieve their own goals. You deserve relationships based on true reciprocity. Number 12. Devaluation of your achievements. There are few things more frustrating than accomplishing something important and feeling like it means nothing to someone close to you. Imagine the moment when you share good news, a big step, or even a small personal victory, and instead of a smile or supportive words, what comes back is a cold, distant, or even negative reaction. This happens when, instead of being happy with you, the person shows indifference or even contempt. When you've achieved something and the people around you don't seem to care, it can be a huge blow to your self-esteem and motivation to pursue what makes you happy. The support of the people we love should be a source of energy that drives us, but when it is missing, the burden of frustration becomes much heavier to bear. Disparaging a performance can be done in a variety of ways, some explicit, such as B, a sarcastic comment or outright criticism, and others more subtle, such as e.g. simply ignoring what you shared. Maybe you worked hard to get a promotion, and when you tell someone close to you, the response is, "Oh, that's obvious, you really deserve it." Or you have invested time and effort to achieve a dream, and the person simply changes the subject as if your success was something unimportant. These reactions, no matter how disguised as little jokes or disguised contempt, hurt deeply. You question the value of your work, your decisions, and your joy. The problem is that this type of belittlement isn't really about you, but is often a reflection of the person's own insecurities or frustrations. By trying to diminish your successes, he projects his own difficulties onto you and makes you feel smaller. Ultimately, however, it reflects on you and leaves a mark that is difficult to remove. If you allow this devaluation to continue, you can begin to internalize these negative messages. Suddenly, you find yourself questioning whether you really deserve the achievement, or even avoiding sharing your achievements to avoid facing this type of reaction. And when that happens, you start silencing your own joy and hiding your successes to avoid them being downplayed or ignored. This is a dangerous trap because it goes beyond simply hiding your successes. Over time, you begin to doubt yourself and your own achievements. But, and this is the crucial point, your achievements matter. Every step you take, every victory you achieve has value that deserves to be recognized. You don't have to let anyone dim the light of your success. Sharing your joy with people who truly support you is key to keeping your self-esteem high and motivating yourself to keep going. Now stop for a moment and think about how you feel when you say something positive to this person. Does their reaction lift you up or bring you down? Do you feel welcomed and recognized, or do you feel like what you did isn't that important? Someone who constantly belittles your accomplishments is not only indifferent or neglectful, but they are actually choosing not to support you. That says a lot about the quality of the relationship. A true friendship or healthy relationship should be based on reciprocity and mutual support. If instead you find yourself constantly seeking validation from someone who doesn't appreciate your successes, it's time to rethink this dynamic. You can even try talking and explaining how you feel, but if nothing changes, you should take a step back. There is no reason to justify or diminish your accomplishments. to please someone who doesn't want to recognize your worth. By distancing yourself from those who don't know how to celebrate your successes, you're doing yourself a huge favor and saving your energy for the people who really matter to you and who are happy about your success. Surrounding yourself with people who celebrate you and recognize your achievements is essential to a healthy emotional life. These people not only support you, but also motivate you to keep going and achieve more because they know how much you deserve it. Your path is unique, full of moments of overcoming and joy. Every success, no matter how big or small, deserves to be celebrated with joy, pride, and most importantly, with people who truly love you. Never settle for less. Don't let those who can't see the splendor of your life dim the light you bring. You deserve to be recognized for everything you are and everything you achieve. Number 13. You don't feel good after meetings. One of the easiest and most insightful ways to evaluate any type of relationship is to pay attention to how you feel after being with that person. After the encounter, do you feel lighter, inspired, and comfortable? Or on the contrary, exhausted, confused, and even afraid? The reactions you have after a date are an excellent thermometer for measuring the impact of that relationship on your life. If you notice that you keep feeling bad after a date, that's a clear sign that something is wrong. Our bodies and minds are very smart and have an incredible way of alerting us when something is wrong. It could be a knot in your stomach, a feeling of unease that you can't explain, or even a simple desire to avoid the next date. These signs should not be ignored because they are an indication of something that is not contributing to your well-being. Even if you can't immediately identify the cause of the discomfort, the feeling itself is a warning sign that this relationship is not good for you. This dynamic is very common in toxic relationships. Instead of finding support and positive energy, you feel like the person's presence is disrupting more than it brings. The person may constantly complain, criticize, or worse, use you as emotional trash by unloading their problems and frustrations on you without caring about their impact on your life. In other cases, the problem may be more subtle, such as B, the feeling of having to justify everything you do or walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. Over time, these interactions affect your peace of mind in a deeper way. You may feel anxious even before meeting this person, or even spend hours after the meeting trying to understand what happened. These types of interactions negatively impact your emotional health, even though you often don't realize it at the time. Truly healthy relationships, on the other hand, leave you energized, calm, and happy, never exhausted or shaken. It's important to realize that you deserve relationships that nourish you and don't drain you emotionally. If you have identified with this situation, it is time to think about what is going on and ask yourself, what is this relationship really doing for me? Do I feel supported and valued, or do I just feel drained? Sometimes the realization that the feeling of discomfort is constant is enough to understand that this person should not occupy such a large space in your life. Remember, it's not selfish to prioritize your well-being. Breaking up with someone who hurts you can be a difficult decision, especially if that person plays an important role in your life or if there is a history of affection. But your peace of mind should be a non-negotiable priority. When you take this step and separate yourself from this person, you make room for people and experiences that truly inspire you, that make you feel good about yourself and the world around you. You deserve to be surrounded by relationships that nourish your soul instead of wearing it down. Your intuition is a powerful tool. She always tells you when something is wrong. If you constantly feel uncomfortable, it's probably because there's something that needs to be addressed. So give preference to the people who are really good for you, those who inspire you, who make every encounter an opportunity for true connection, joy, and learning. After all, life is too short to spend it in discomfort and relationships that wear you down. In this video, we look at 13 signs that many people unfortunately ignore because they think they have to accept or tolerate situations that are fundamentally not healthy for them. But here's a powerful truth. You don't need to stay in a relationship that doesn't respect you, that doesn't contribute to your growth, or that limits your happiness. Your peace and well-being should always come first. It can be uncomfortable to realize that someone in your life is not fulfilling this role, but this discomfort is a clear sign that something needs to change. It's never easy to break up with someone, especially when it involves a history of feelings or family relationships. However, I want to remind you of something essential. The decision to separate from a toxic person is not an act of rejection of the other, but an act of self-love. It's a yes to an easier, more balanced life, full of real and meaningful relationships. Before I conclude, I would like to urge you to think carefully about the people around you. Who will help you become a better person? Who really supports you? Who is there for you when you need them? And most importantly, how are you feeling about your relationships? As you think about your answers, you can begin to make decisions that, while difficult at first, will liberate you in the future. Remember that every step towards your happiness is a step in the right direction. Take care of yourself, value yourself, and surround yourself with people who truly care about you because you deserve it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video. Who knows how many people around you may be in relationships that aren't good for them and don't even know it. Sending someone this video could be the push they need to realize what's going on. Let's create a support network where everyone feels important, respected, and free to be who they truly are. The change starts with you, but it can spread to many other people. Do it for yourself, because you deserve a life full of peace, love, and sincerity. See you later and stay with your Creator. Before I conclude, I would like to urge you to think carefully about the people around you. Who will help you become a better person? Who really supports you? Who is there for you when you need them? And most importantly, how are you feeling about your relationships? As you think about your answers, you can begin to make decisions that, while difficult at first, will liberate you in the future. Remember that every step towards your happiness is a step in the right direction. Take care of yourself, value yourself, and surround yourself with people who truly care about you because you deserve it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video. Who knows how many people around you may be in relationships that aren't good for them and don't even know it? Sending someone this video could be the push they need to realize what's going on. Let's create a support network where everyone feels important, respected, and free to be who they truly are. The change starts with you, but it can spread to many other people. Do it for yourself because you deserve a life full of peace, love, and sincerity. See you later and stay with your Creator.